All right, guys, here we are, percents of a number or finding a whole from a percent. So I just wrote percents and wholes for these problems. All right, we have 70% of 60. When we have that of 60, 60 becomes our total. All right, so we are not going to be bigger than 60 when we have 70% of that number. Okay, if we use 70% of your bank account to figure out what that is, your total, we're gonna figure out 70% of that. Remember, when we see this setup, we are going to do multiplication. All right, so we're gonna have 60, and then I'm going to make this just that much easier. I'm going to multiply. We're taking our 70%, changing it to a decimal, 70 hundredths, right? If we have 70 hundredths, there's 70 hundredths. I'm going to reduce that down. I'm just going to make that go like that. All right, so we got 70 or 7 tenths. So we're going to have 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 6 is 42. Again, we're multiplying with a decimal. So our decimal comes over one time. Again, if you left that 0 there, well, let's do this. And we bring it over one time. So we have 42. So 70% of 60 is going to equal 42. Okay, back to this part. If we leave that 0 here, we just bring it down. Some of us do that. It works just fine. Just make sure you move your decimal that 2 times, and you still end up with 42 and the correct answer. Okay, so this is the percent of a total. So 70% of 60 is going to be 42. Next problem, going with the same type, we're going to have 20% of 30. 20% of 30. 30 is our total. We're going to do 30. We're going to make this our decimal. It's going to be 2 tenths, right? Because with our percentage, 20 over 100, percents are out of 100. There's our 2 tenths. If you want to make it 1/5, you can. It's going to be the exact same. So we're going to multiply this by 2 tenths. 0, 6, decimal moves one time. Decimal moves one time. 20% of 30 is 6. So let's say you have 30 pieces of candy. You are going to share 20% of them with your friend. Your friend will get 6 pieces of candy. All right, so there's what we're talking about with that problem. I'm going to give you the toughest one, okay? This one I'm going to let you do on your own. You're going to have 541 and yeah, I'm trying to scare you with 100% of 541. Pause it, see if you can get the answer. Time's up. What's 100% of 541? Oh, it's 541. Ding, ding, ding. You guys all have 100% on that one. I know some of you said some silly number, and darn, guess you don't get full credit for these practice problems. Such a shame. I'll forgive you. Next one we're going to go to is finding the whole from a percent. So we're going to have 54 is 75% of what number? This is one where we're going to have to set up the problem. We're going to have to do some reducing, going through that. 54 is 75% of. We do not know our total. 75%. So remember, this problems we just did. 75% of, well, we don't know that. All right. So we're going to take 54 is 75%. I'll just get a different color because I like changing them up. We're going to have 54 is 75%. Well, we're going to make 75 over 100. We need to fill in that magical box. We do not know the total. We know part of it. but we do not know the total. I am going to get rid of that, and I'm going to reduce it down. 75 over 100, hopefully you know right away. It's 3/4, right? You guys got it, 3/4. Now comes the next step. How many times does 3 fit into 54? This is when we talk about if you do it to the top, you do it to the bottom. So let's do take care of our 54 divided by 3. 3 goes into 5 one time. 3 subtracted. You got 2 left. Bring down that 4. 3 goes into 24 8 times. So we know that 3 times 18 gets us 54. If you multiply by 18 on the top, you had better multiply by 18 on the bottom to figure out that denominator. Remember, numerator on top, denominator on the bottom. So we're going to have 18 times 4, 4 times 8, 32. 4 times 1 plus 3, 72. So our big answer is 72. All right, there's our first example. Again, pause it, slow down if you need to. Next, we're going to do 5 is 10% of something. Okay, hold on, I'm sneezing. Maybe. Is it going to go away? I think it's going away for now. 10% of. We do not know the total. So let's set this up. We know we have 5. We know that 5 is 10% and 10% of 100. But what is that total? I'm dividing that by 10, right? Reduce by 10, get rid of those. If they both end with 0, cross off those zeros because you're dividing by the 10. So we have 1/10. This one is the easy one. How do we do this on the top? 1 times something is going to equal 5. 1 times 5 equals 5. Well, we're going to take 10 times 5 equals 50. So our answer right there is 50. See how easy these are? You guys are going to get 100% on all of this. Last example is 15 is 25% of something. We don't know what it is. So we got to figure out our total. We know we have 15. We do not know the total. And we know that 15 equals 25%. So we're going to make our 25 over 100. Again, hopefully we're looking at this and go, I know 25 1/100ths. I know that that equals 1/4. And then we can do the math from there. 1 times 15 equals 15. 4 times 15 equals, well, if you don't know, then we're going to do it right here. I got it in my head, but I've done this a few times. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 plus 2 is 60. So 15 is 25% of 60. Now, little shortcut if you will see it this way. Okay? If you see it this way, when we're dealing with percents that we know very easily as 25% is 1/4. We had the other one before that was 3/4, and there's some ways to go through that. If we have 20%, all right, those are other ones that we need to know. How many times do we need to multiply to get 25% to 100? Well, we're going to multiply it by 4. Here, we're going to do the exact same thing. It's still going to get you to 60. If you have 1/5 or 20%, right, it's 1/5. You'd be multiplying 20% by 5 to get to 100. Multiply by 5, you get to 100. It's all going to work the same way when you're dealing with those 1/5, 1/4, 1/3. We have talked about it before. If you have 3/4, we've talked about how to get there. That's another way to do it. I'm not going to go into that right now because I want to keep it just in this format. If you're struggling with that, I can talk with you about the other way. But I think you guys will do this. You guys did really well in class on this last time we did it. There is percents of a whole, which was the first part we did. And for this one, we were finding the whole of knowing the percent. All right. There is that one. Good work, guys.